continue from what we talked about yesterday. And this first part just going to be a little bit of a review. And remember, we talked about the property management agreement, we talked about the lease, we talked about the application, and I really think that, that is a key point of what y'all, since we're in Texas, and by the way, I was with Heather and we're at the restaurants, and the servers will come over and they're like, hey, what do y'all want? What do y'all want? And I go, that's where I'm getting it from. I'm up in front of the class and I'm saying y'all, and it's because I'm hearing it from the servers. But I really think that, you should really consider getting a good handle on these documents and being prepared to look at these documents as you start to get into your markets and have property management companies start to talk to you about their capabilities, what they'll do. And I think it's funny now because you guys might say, oh, your presentation is terrible. This is how you should do it, kind of thing. So I want to talk and review a little bit about the property management agreement. Please be prepared to focus on the fees and compensation. The things that I've noticed that happen quite a bit with property management agreements are you'll see a fee, but you don't see the small print behind it or underneath it. And that's where a lot of property management firms get you. There should be a percentage fee of gross income. There's probably a fee to either market the unit by taking half a month's rent or sometimes a full month's rent. But what other fees are implemented on that contract? Make sure that you review that in detail. Okay. Also make sure that you are getting an understanding of what is traditional with respect to the fees in that marketplace. Okay, in that marketplace. One of the things that you'll note from the company 512 that was here yesterday, their fee was how much? Anybody remember? 6%. And you've got to ask yourself, 6%, is that competitive? How do they, break down how they make their money off of that? Is it more towards 10%? I noticed that you guys had some different fees than that 6% in your presentations today. So I would just give that a little bit of thought, okay? The second thing is the handling of the security deposit. Note that the state that you're in is going to dictate how that security deposit should be handled. Some states require it to be in an escrow account. Some states require it to be in an escrow account that pays interest to the tenant. Other states don't require you to do anything with the security deposit. So make sure that that is on your property management contract. Also make sure that there is language in your lease that talks about that. That's very important. The states that require you to do things with that security deposit enforce that by doing audits on your business. They'll do audits to the property management company, for instance, and they'll want to see your bank statement or your escrow account statement, and it's got to be to the penny. You've also got to see the language with the property management contract and make sure that that is also being adhered to. Very important. The third one is the term. I want to remind you that I don't think it's a good idea to get locked up into a 12-month or 24-month contract with a property management company. I think that should be a month-to-month agreement, or maybe an agreement where at 60-day notice or 45-day notice you can terminate the contract. I would advise you to take that advice. If you are locking yourself up in a relationship with a property management company and they do a bad job, it's going to be harder for you to get out of that contract. So make sure that you're looking at that. Policy and agency. Let me kind of give you what this means. Just like a real estate agent, they have agency, what we call agency responsibilities. A major thing with agency responsibility in law means that they are responsible for giving you certain things, like, for instance, a fiduciary responsibility. As your property manager, they have a fiduciary responsibility to take care of that money in a proper fashion. Collect rents, not commingle funds, not use those funds for personal use, keeping the escrow account specific and to the penny. That's their agency duty. A property manager has the same thing. So I want you to be aware that they're going to have some duties that they have to perform. Another example of that would be confidentiality. They can't take your information because they have an agency duty and spread it to competitors or to the public or anybody else. There's a duty there that they have to be cognizant of. Okay, so make sure that is also in your contract and you're respectful of that. Written leases and rental agreements. We talked about the leases. I think this is something, again, that I would feel most comfortable if you sat with an attorney and talked with them for, a day, maybe a couple hours, no longer than a day. That's a joke. But property managers, typically, if I was dealing here in Austin, they already have a really good property management template that they're going to use, that they're just going to kind of plug your information in. They might add some specialty things that you do or request, but I think it's a really good idea. Typically, an attorney has been working in this market for a long time. They know what to put in there, what not to put in there based on state law. Texas, in general, is a little bit different than most of the other states. It is almost a country in itself. Some states that act differently with respect to contract law and real estate law: Texas, California, New Jersey. Those three specifically act a little bit different. I think it's even more important, if you're planning on doing work here, that you understand specifically what those laws are. Okay? The cost of services. I think another thing to examine in your property management agreement is to get an understanding of, if they have a maintenance department, what do they charge? The thing that we talked about yesterday is, on my example, it was $25 an hour, portal to portal. What does that mean? That means the moment they leave the office or their shop and they get to the apartment, that takes 30 minutes. They do work on the apartment, that takes 2 hours. They go back to the office, that's another 30 minutes. That's a total of 3 hours. You're going to get billed $75 plus parts, whatever that was, plus parts. I want you to take that into consideration and compare that to another type or another scenario, and that would be if they subcontracted out the work. Now, let's just say that was an air conditioner job where they've got in-house HVAC people. So they've got a 3-hour, $75 scenario there. They've got $100 in parts. So that will cost you $175. If they have to sub that out, typically you will have a trip charge of $90. You're probably going to pay somewhere around $85 an hour while on site. So they're there for how long did I say? 2 hours? So 85 times 2 is how much? 170. And you've got a $90 trip charge. How much is that? $260 plus $100 in parts. That's $360. You see how by subbing that out you're going to pay more? I want you to be cognizant of those costs. Does that make sense? So in dealing with a property management company, I would be asking them, what type of services do you do in-house? And what type of services do you do where you sub that work out? And then have them or yourself build a budget based on that. It's very important that you know that. Because if you don't think the property management company is going to be good in managing that process, that's how costs get away from you. That's how expenses get away from you. What would be your safeguard with that? And I think it's an innovative way to think about property management. What would be your safeguard to runaway expenses and costs by the property management company? Anybody?
Put a cap on the cost.
Put a cap on their cost. Okay, what would be another thing? Itemized items. Okay, all right. Tasks, okay, with costs associated. What else? Those are 2 ideas. I hope you're writing these down. Yes. Implement budgets. That's 3 ideas. Give me 2 more. Yeah. What is it? Okay, hire your own. Give me 1 more. Give your property management incentives or caps or approval for that. Yes, make sure you're basing your property management agreement on incentives based on the NOI. Remember we talked about that yesterday? All of these are safeguards where you can say, hey, listen, you guys run the property management yourself. You're going to have to budget that, but just note that your compensation is based on NOI. And if we don't hit those NOI goals because the expenses are too high, you're not going to get paid as much. Does that make sense? I really think that by putting those NOI goals in, not only do you protect yourself, but you really end up protecting the property management firm. I really think that you should really consider putting that in because it's a two-way street there. And that should be in your conversation with them. The second thing is accounting. How does that happen? You want to make sure that you're proactive with your property management firms. I would at least be getting a report monthly on the accounting of the business. The income that comes in, the expenses that go out, any maintenance items, things like that. I think monthly is a way to go. I also would ask to have, and technology is great these days. You can have a lot of property managers have a software system or accounting system that they use. It's almost a comprehensive property management software where the accounting's built in. And a lot of those have what we call an online portal. So me as an owner, I can go in 24 hours a day and see real live up to the minute statistics of how my property is performing. I would ask if they have that. And if they do, I would definitely take part in that. You're still going to get a monthly statement, but now you can get in there in a portal, a secured, encrypted portal, and really see what's going on there. Actually, we still need to record the questions, correct? Yeah, so Gavin, I might have you be my mic person if you could. Let's get right here. We have a mic. If you can just be cognizant of the camera. No, stay right there. Stay right there. Stay right there. Stay right there. Gavin, there you go, buddy. Thanks, Gavin. Okay. Yes. Question.
Just wondering if there would be. Could they ask an extra charge if they provide that service, the online access?
Well,
I don't think they should, but.
They certainly could. I mean, you've got to weigh that out in your budget. Again, that is why the safeguard of paying on that NOI is such an important thing, because if they're going to charge you for it, that is obviously going to erode that NOI a little bit because it's a higher expense. Okay? Very good question. Reports, like I said, monthly. What should you be looking for in these reports? Does anybody know? Well, let me give you one clue. It has to do with the income statement. Remember that financial statements that we talked about? One half of that is the income statement. The other half is the balance sheet. I don't necessarily need to see the balance sheet every month, but I definitely want to see the income statement. The income statement is going to have the revenue that comes in and the expenses that go out. You're also going to be able to see your net operating income. That's something that you should be judging and looking at monthly. And if that net operating income is lower than you think, you can make changes on the fly. Or if it's higher than it should be, it's nice to know why that is as well. Are you missing some expenses? Are they charging somebody higher than market rent for some reason? That type of thing. It's always nice to know that. So at least try to get the income statement in these reports. Make sure that there's some type of confidentiality language in the contract. Not so much with you, the owner, but when the leases and the applications come in that have your tenant's personal information on there, you need to make sure that you're aware of how that property management company is keeping track of that information. By law, they should be keeping that in a secured location. They cannot just keep that in files that the public can access. That is private information, and the Privacy Act guards that. So it would be, against the law for them not to take care of that information. Make sure that you've got some language in there about tenant files, how they're kept confidential, that type of thing. Make sure that your property management company is being treated as an independent contractor. So at the end of the year, they are not treated as an employee. Why? Well, as an employee, you're going to have to treat them a little bit differently. You're going to have to give them some things depending on the state. It could be health insurance. It could be, you're taking out taxes. You've got certain other insurances that you're going to have to cover for them. By a subcontractor, they're kind of off on, an independent contractor, they're off on their own. They don't have that same, or you don't have that same type of responsibility to them. You basically send them a W-9 or a 1099 at the end of the year. They're responsible for paying the taxes on a corporate level. Okay, does everybody understand that? They should be treated as an independent contractor. Okay?